Health and environmental impacts of crude oil exploration in the Niger Delta have been a major concern for stakeholders, particularly residents of Ogoni land in Rivers State, which led to the suspension of oil exploration in the region for decades. And 29 years after, in a new turn of events, members of the Ogoni ethnic nationality are calling for the restoration of oil exploration in the area. Well, they, however, introduced a clause for exploration to be carried out alongside the Ogoni cleanup exercise being handled by the Hydrocarbon Pollution Remediation Project. Tunde, let me come to you on this. We know the Niger Delta to be prone to environmental degradation, and now they're asking that oil exploration resumes. But there is an underlying issue here. People are yet to find justice for the level of exploration that the degradation that has occurred since the exploration in that region. Do you think perhaps it is a wise decision to resume?
Well, I think having been out of the scene for a very long time, you know, there was a time the government of President Mohamed Buhari announced about $3 billion to clean up the Ogoni land. And now I want to believe that substantial progress has been made on that. Besides that, I think the people are just sending a message to the government that they want to remind the government that, yes, if exploration must resume, you must also pay us compensation. They are asking for $110 million from Shell to pay, because no Shell had to leave that place because of a lot of things. They are also asking for more, and I think it is not too much. If the emphasis on Nigeria now is on oil, and we all know what we have been losing for all these years. We know the kind of environmental degradation. We know a lot of human lives that have been lost. The Ogoni mine was there. A lot of lives have been lost. A lot of jobs have been lost. So I think it is only necessary that they should be compensated before oil exploration can start. It's not a blanket offer or blanket demand on the government to come and bring your share. They are also asking that before anything can be done, compensate us for all the injustices of the past. In the last 58 years, people have been there until 1995 when the issue started. That was 29 years ago. So I think government in its own right has to do something about the joint venture partners, those people who are actually mining the oil. They have to be resettled. And I think that, you see, in Yoruba land, they say that that when two people are fighting, at a particular point in time, the two parties get tired. So the people of Ogoni land want peace now, but they don't want peace like that. They want also their people to be compensated for their environmental degradation that have led to a loss of life, loss of a means of livelihood, and a lot of things. So it is only incumbent on the government that in inviting all these companies to come back there, let us ensure that these people significantly they have been compensated for the loss they have incurred over the last 29 years. I will take him up on that, because compensation, it doesn't really guarantee, you know, a return to the loss of livelihoods, because so much, you know, degradation, people who are fishermen, people who have lived there all of their lives, all of their years there, and then you're bringing the issue of compensation. We're talking about remediation efforts in terms of cleaning up that area, because what is the guarantee now that when exploration begins, you wouldn't have the same I think all those issues, because of the experience we have had in the past 20 years or so, all those issues should have been involved, part of the cleanup exercise by the federal government. If the government is cleaning the place, so they are not only cleaning up the environmental degradation, they are also trying to rehabilitate the people, because there's nothing we can do. We are lost, jobs have been lost, lives have been lost, a lot of things have been lost. So I think it is only incumbent on the government that by the time exploration is beginning in that particular area, a lot of these issues should have been addressed. Because of the experience we have had in the last 30 years, we should address all these issues. And same thing, now government is now focusing on solid minerals. I think we should borrow from the experience of what happened in the oil-producing areas and make sure that all those companies that were granted license to mine minerals solid, they take care of the environment so that there won't be a spillover. That of Ogoni has been there for, they never got any government attention until the 90s. And oil exploration has been going on there since 1958. So we have to know that there is a spillover of this particular thing. Government has to do something. Yes, we know it's not about compensation, but compensation in all forms in terms of cleanup, because the cleanup exercise is not only necessarily to clean their waters alone, but to clean everything that has been destroyed in the past 30 years of exploration. So I think it is only incumbent on the government. If you don't want a repeat performance of what led to the unrest in the Niger Delta, you can imagine that it was the first really serious measure that was taken to address that issue was taken by late President Umaru Yar'Adua, who set up the Niger Delta, he set up the NDDC, and not only NDDC, trying to compensate all these activists. Well, amnesty program. He set up the amnesty program whereby the people were given money. So the amnesty program must continue apace so that the people can see the reasons why they have resisted. Because they actually resisted for the past 29 years. So there must be a reason for government to go back now. And that reason is that the people must have been adequately readjusted and compensated too. I would say that too.
Okay, let's leave you on that issue because, you know, CK, let me come to you on this now. We're talking about oil exploration and the environmental degradation, you know, it has caused. But in terms of remediation efforts now, what would you propose as strategies to ensure that it is fully implemented so that the people of Ogoni land do not get to suffer a repeat of what has happened over the years?
Yes, before we get to that, I think it is incumbent of us to be able to give some historical background to some of these issues so that whoever is watching and doesn't know what is going on will be able to be well informed. As rightly said, oil exploration was discovered in commercial quantity in 1958 in Ogoni land. That is a fact. And I will tell you that between 1976 and 1991, there were about 2 million barrels of oil spill in Ogoni land. 2 million barrels of oil spill. That is huge. There was also, within that period, I'm talking of 1976 to 1991, there were about 2,976 oil spillage within that environment. And you can just imagine how big, let's talk how big Ogoni. Ogoni is a very small community. Okay? We are taking it further. At a point, there were an average of 200 oil wells in Ogoni land. And Shell had about 96 oil wells. So if you put this into perspective, you come to realize that this is a major economic center for the country. And that is how important Ogoni land was. But when you look at all this, and you come to look at the place, Ogoni as a place, and you come to see the level of poverty in that land, then you come to ask yourself at that point that oil that was discovered in Ogoni, whether it was a blessing or a curse. It was a curse to me. Because if you go to other countries of the world, in the United States, UK, Russia, and other, where oil are found, there's a place called Alaska in US. It's one of the major places where you find it. If you see how the people live, they live above and above other Americans. Okay? But in Ogoni land, you will see that the people that lay the golden eggs don't even smell egg to eat, talk less of even anything. So that is how bad it was. And it was because of this that NYCOP was formed in 1990 by Ken Saro-Wiwa and some other leaders within Ogoni land, so that they can ask for their right and also make sure that some of this product or what of this word are coming from their part, also they be able to get out of it, part of it. Apart from that, also that there should be some level of cleanliness. Because what the majority of the IOCs were doing there is just going there. They went there to explore the land, pick up the oil, and did not make any effort at cleaning up the spillage. The people had no water to drink. Their land has been taken. They cannot fish because they are majorly fishermen and farmers. And that was the agitation to that point that something must be done. But because of how powerful this oil company were, especially Shell, they connived with our government to be able to deprive. And when they shuttered that, when it happened in about 1993 or thereabout, it was, it was on the 10th of November 1995. Some of the leaders of Ogoni land, including Saro-Wiwa, was killed by the government of General Abacha. And that in itself was at the high point at which these people said, no, we no longer want anybody. And that, since then, the oil flow from that point and our export in oil has really dwindled. Yeah. You understand what I mean? That is why till today, we are not able to meet our OPEC quota. That is why the revenue we are getting from the natural resources that God has given us free of charge, we cannot be. That is why today, Dangote cannot get crude oil to service his refinery. So we have to put a historical part to this issue. Yeah. So after about 29 years, the people are saying, okay, let bygone be bygone. We cannot allow you to come back. Most of these IOCs have moved out of Ogoni. And I don't think there's any single one there. Now, but the government went ahead to set up the HYPREP, what we call the hydrocarbon pollution remediation project. I think that it was set up by former president. Yeah. There were issues surrounding that. Money were released. The problem is not that only of government. It is also of the problem of people from Niger Delta. Most of their leaders also collect this money and don't do what they're supposed to do. They will ask for their people to make. Look at what happened, NDDC. This year alone, I think we did the budget, I think about 3 trillion is being located to NDDC for Niger Delta. Go and ask yourself, see the establishment of the NDDC. What has been the level of development in the Niger Delta? We have capped it up with the establishment of Niger Delta, Ministry of Niger Delta. So those are the issues at stake. But good enough, in the last few weeks, there was some agitation because the president appointed somebody to head that. And the people trooped out in Ogoni and said, no, you cannot appoint somebody that is not from our side. Now, Professor Neni Zabi has been reappointed. He used to be the coordinator, has been reappointed. Now, the issue is, if these oil companies are going to go back, then something must be done. The issue of environment should be key. Yes. Very, very fundamental. Absolutely. The old ways of drilling, 1960 and 1940 that we're using to drill oil, it has gone beyond that. Right. The flaring of gas, which the PI was supposed to take care of, when the PI was, till now, gas has still been flared in the Niger Delta into the air. Let me shock you. The average, the average lifespan of people from the Niger Delta is 40 years. Average lifespan. 10 years lower than the national this thing. And most of them, especially within the Niger Delta, within those areas, why is it? Because of oil pollution and some of this. So those are the issues that has to be. So it's not just saying, oh, come back, come and start them. No. Yeah. A lot of issues has to be. And finally, how many of these IOCs have been taken to court? Up to the international court. And judgment has been given. And you realize that till today, most of them have not paid compensation, as it were. Compensation that runs to trillions and trillions and trillions. And that is where the Nigerian government has to come in. Now, for me, it is good news that Ogoni people are ready to bring these people back. But first and foremost, we must be able to establish that certain things must be done, right, so that we don't get back to where we're coming from. Absolutely. Well, that's where we leave this.